2.
Cool. All right. Good morning, everybody. I am Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy. This is Market Check brought to you by Because Bitcoin. I am joined by Max, Tucker, and Will. We're going to have a great little session just talking markets, looking at some of the charts that we've been eyeing down over the last few days, last few weeks, maybe even in some cases over the course of the past year. But yeah, definitely a lot to talk about today on the back of the SEC, on the fallout of the SEC continuing to regulate more exchanges, most notably Coinbase. I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but we do have Will on and would love to get his thoughts on that later in the show, and the implications for the crypto market, the implications for the summer and over a longer time frame as well. Another thing we talked about yesterday was small and mid caps ripping. I think pretty much all of us took calls. Tucker, did you take any exposure to it?
To IWM?
Yeah.
Negative.
I don't want to misquote. Sorry. I mean, we're gonna give Tucker the credit for the idea of the trade at least, because he's the only reason I took it in the first place. But small caps are ripping, right? IWM up another 1.5%, so far today, as the long tech, short, small and mid cap trade that has kind of been talked about a lot over the last week or two. It continues to unwind. And, I can only imagine that will eventually help to, unpin volatility in the coming weeks. And we can maybe get some really nice volatility on equity indexes. Beyond what we've already had, because I feel like we've gotten some pretty nice volatility in equities, all things considered. Qs have been moving up only all year. You've especially had some really nice volatility in, the individual mega cap tech stocks. And now we're finally seeing some volatility in the Russell, some of these dead companies that have been overshorted. So it's not a complete surprise to see IWM ripping like this. Obviously, we've been talking about it, but one thing I do find interesting is that IWM is up today while the VIX is up today. So maybe people are bidding bull. It's funny though, because every bid on volatility in the equity market over the last 3 to 4 weeks has mostly been, not even 3 to 4 weeks, really the course of the entire year. Every pump on the VIX has been faded pretty relentlessly. So I don't really expect this one to be too different. But I am going to have to take note of the fact that you do have indexes climbing on a day with the VIX rising as well. The last time that happened was last week. I took note of it, and then I think they crushed the VIX another like 20 or 30% later in the week. So, maybe that's a sign of things to come later this week or next week. As far as Bitcoin goes, we got that really nice squeeze yesterday. So far, that's looking like it's all it was. Typically when this asset has squeezed over the course of this year, it doesn't give you a chance to get on board. It's very aggressive. And so far, I can't say that this price action that we've seen so far is, very conducive to that thought process, which is a little disappointing because last night I was starting to think, that they were painting it the exact same way as they were painting March. But right now it looks very weak. It looks very weak. But with that said, I think you still have to be somewhat, base case bull in crypto, at least locally, until we, just create new lows, just because of the contextual importance. And I speak about this a lot, the contextual importance of, price action. We have squeezed up on the back of some really bad news. We are trying to trade above the origin of the Binance dump. We should trade and accept back above that if we're bullish, if we're going to brush off this news. If we retrace this pump, I would say that's a pretty bad sign. And you're definitely going to see altcoins get hammered into oblivion if that's the case. But I'm going to kick it right over to Will here, get his thoughts on the market first, because we didn't have him on yesterday. Will, what are you seeing in the markets? I know we're getting a lot of these rips in small caps. Bitcoin got the nice squeeze yesterday, and obviously, everything going on with Coinbase and Binance is something that's, extremely pertinent at the moment.
I was actually just looking at BNB. It's really interesting. It looks like we're getting a pretty good sell off there on BNB, which is kind of odd, to be honest with you. Um, right back down to some pretty crazy lows, 263. I mean, we hide up here at 350, so pretty massive move there. So the way the market's acting versus the way they're treating BNB right now is a lot different. And I'm wondering what this unloading of BNB is, particularly in comparison to the market itself. But BTC overall, like it's showing strength, I would say, like with a lot of the things going on and stuff like that. Like the crypto market itself is kind of ignoring any type of outside forces that are trying to I guess put a bearish tone on investing in this space. Um, yeah, I would say with crypto specifically, I don't really see a lot of issues with it right now as far as liquidity. Something else I've talked about in the past is basically looking at and anybody can do this really is just go to like CoinMarketCap and just simply go in and look at total market cap. That's a really good way to evaluate the market. And something I've talked to you guys about in the past is like, wherever we're ranging at is where we're ranging. So if it's 1.1, it's 1.1 to 1.2. If it's below 1.1, it's 1 point, it's 1 to 1.1 and so on and so forth. So 1 trillion to 100 billion, or, 1 trillion, 100 billion to 1 trillion, 200 billion, or 1 trillion to 1 trillion, 100 billion. So I'm looking at it more or less. We're on the lower end of the range here as far as total market cap goes. So I am still seeing support there too. Like that's just the normie way to look at that. I mean, if you have charts, it's even better because you can go into totals and stuff like that and look at that. And I mean, total structure still looks solid. Like we haven't broken back into previous ranges, at least not bearish ranges. And it does look like we have a nice retrace, but we had support above the previous would say breakout high time frame moves, especially on the monthly, which I basically, as long as we remain above like 1.05 trillion, we're good to go, right? Which is 1 trillion 50 billion. As long as we remain above that price zone, the market's good for more upside, I would say. And I know when I talked with Max, we were talking about, good potential that we could see a breakout move on crypto, like up to maybe like the 1.5 trillion area. And then a pullback into 1.3 and then a move back at the 1.55. It's something I'm still entertaining, but I would say there's a couple red flags I'm seeing right now across the map. One being obviously BNB, two being Apple's position too. I think that's a big weight on the market as a whole. So when I look at Apple, I'm kind of seeing a bearish div on the higher time frame moves. At where we're at in price right now, and that's a pretty nasty wick down doji that we're playing at the highs here in Apple. So if Apple tumbles over, I can see the whole market reacting in a negative way to that. Currently at 179, but we got strength dropping against price rising on our ABC move to the high. So our high of January 22 to our high now, which is a higher high, which is currently June 23, and we're basically less strength here than we were there. Right now, you don't like to see strength resets like that. You like to see strength and a strength kind of equal out. So a little bit bearish on Apple. Again, I talked to you guys about this morning. I think that's going to be a trend sideways for quite some time, which means Apple will see really new highs for quite a bit of time here, probably years, from what I'm seeing here on the chart.
Well, do you think this sell-off in Apple really kind of started with the whole what is it, augmented reality goggles or whatever? Do you think it was catalyzed by that?
I posted on this yesterday. I don't know if anybody even looked at, or saw my post on Twitter, but I was like, this is hilarious. I'm like, Apple's gonna come in and try and talk like they know AR, like they're gonna create it. You got so many big players that are so far ahead of anybody trying to just get into AR and VR. It's like the only way that they could get advanced beyond most of these bigger players is to swallow one of them up and have them develop it for them, which is already developed, right? Take their tech and use that to develop what they have. To start from the ground is you're so far behind in the AR VR space, in my opinion. Like AR VR has been out for a decade. A lot of people don't realize that. Like they think that it's something new because they're hearing it in the markets, they're hearing the buzzwords, but it's been out for over a decade. I've worked in the space of AR VR for a long time. BLK scans, all that stuff like that. Use drones, the whole nine, to create augmented reality spaces through 3D software. So when you look at the space as a whole, there's a lot of really good, I would say, companies out there with really solid foundation in AR VR, and they're not just in gaming and stuff like that. They're in medical, they're in construction. Like they have the foothold on the entire market when it comes to AR VR. So I think like when people look at that, they kind of look at Apple's approach from the AR VR announcement as kind of like when Apple, announced that they were going to come out with their own electric car. Wink, wink. In 2008. And in 2008, when they talked about, oh, we're going to come out with electric car, literally 5 years later, like, oh, we never made the electric car because we tried to advance the iPhone. It's like, what?
Man,
It's
I was
like your
so
profit
excited.
margins on a
I
car
was
would be
so excited for the
significantly
Apple
higher than an
car.
iPhone.
I was so
Why would
excited
you
for the
try to
Apple car.
advance the iPhone?
Yeah.
And then I posted a picture from 2007's iPhone to 2023's iPhone. Literally no difference, right? You got sharper edges. That's it. Like the phone's exactly the same. The camera hasn't changed in many years. How they've upgraded the camera is they've done it through software, not actually through the camera itself, right? So it's pretty crazy that people still fall for the same gimmicks, I would say, when it comes to Apple. Now, I think Apple has good computers. They have good phones and stuff like that. But for them to dabble in a space that they don't really know or understand, I think it's actually astonishing. And now if Samsung were to come out and they were to like, hey, we're going to do AR VR, that would make sense to me. Why? Because they've been doing it with their phones, right? They've had the AR VR space unlocked when it comes to phones. That's why they have that headset where you can put your phone into it and you can literally be in VR, right?
Will, let me
They
ask. Let
they've
me
been
ask you
dabbling with
this.
it. It's just something that Apple hasn't been involved with.
Lem-
So in my opinion, I think it was a bad approach. It might cause the market to bid at the highs here, but like really the reality is I think it's more of an exit move than it is an entry move. I think a lot of savvy investors see that and they know that, probably in 5 years from now they'll be like, oh, we didn't endeavor into VR because we were busy trying to improve the iPhone again, right? Something that hasn't improved in almost a decade outside of software. So that's my perspective on Apple. I think it's laughable, to be honest with you.
It seems like Apple's
And I
big
know some people
move.
may scoff at that and be like, hey, you don't understand Apple. It's like Apple's a dividend stock. It's not a growth stock. Not interested in dividend stocks unless you've got multi-billions of dollars that you could sit on and create revenue from.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Will, it seems like Apple's big play is always just like waiting for another company to come out with a product and then just like kind of letting them work through, the hiccups or the kinks in in these new projects or new technologies or new drops, whatever you want to call them. And then Apple comes out and just basically does it better and makes it more seamless. I don't know if I would necessarily agree that like it's bad or they don't know what they're doing. I'm actually quite excited for it. I have not really enjoyed previous VR or AR experiences. And if I know anything about Apple, it's that their operating system is very easy to navigate and it's very easy to connect with. And if they can integrate it into their ecosystem, yes, maybe the price of $3,500 for these goggles is a little bit hefty, but I paid $3,000 for my computer. I'm sitting here right now looking at a $3,000 computer. So it's like if we're talking about, trying to draw comparisons between, what these goggles are and another product that's out there. Well, I think the most comparable one would truly be a computer. It's just it's a new type of computer. Because if you think about it, right, it's going to hook up to your phone. Your phone is basically a computer. It does everything a computer does. It's just kind of squished down and condensed. So I'm actually really excited to try them, but I think this was done intentionally. Like 2 years from now, we're going to see these goggles at $899. Apple's going to have these same goggles at $899. No question.
I don't know. I man, and I'm sorry if I overtalked you earlier. My headset was unplugged, so I didn't realize if you was talking.
Oh no, that's okay.
But,
Yeah, that's okay.
so yeah, so man, when it comes to like, it's a deep conversation. Again, I don't think they have the tech. I don't think they've been developing the tech, so I think they're way beyond. But like, I get what you're saying. Like, price can come down. I honestly don't see that. Right? Like, Apple has historically never lowered prices. So the only thing I could think is like a price comes out and price only goes up for them. and eventually it prices out most of the market, right? And if you can get a computer, let's say your average retail, you can buy a computer or you can buy a VR headset. Which are you going to buy? I think your retailer is going to buy the computer, right? And it's just because it's a smarter move from a financial standpoint. Now, if we can get, and that's because you can fill out for jobs, you can search the web, you get like all that stuff's readily available on a computer.
Well,
Whereas in
hang on, no,
VR,
you can do all that shit on the
you
goggles.
you
Do all
can,
that
but it's
same
going to
shit.
be
Isn't the new Mac priced at like $6,000?
7.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. But has the price come down? No, it's never come down. It's always gone up. So like,
I'm not buying that. Like, I'm not paying $7,000
there's
for
no way.
a
Zero.
MacBook.
No,
I'd rather
Rami,
buy a
I've
gaming
seen you.
laptop.
I've seen you throw $7,000 at worthless altcoins on leverage.
It's
man.
worth.
Don't even act.
The altcoins have more value than the MacBook. All right.
Look, I don't know. I don't know if we should be fading Apple on this yet, though, because, like, look, they came in and they murdered the computer game. They came in and they slaughtered the phone game, the AirPod game, the watch game. Like, I mean, the car thing is a fair example, obviously, but I don't know if the not obviously related to the market price or anything, but I think I think it's probably too early to come out and say this isn't gonna work, right?
I gave the scenario where it could work, right? And I think that scenario where it could work is that they absorb somebody who's doing it, right? That's
They'll
where it
just do
could
it
work.
better. Yeah.
So if they can allocate somebody like here, I'll give you an example, right? A great name, Lenovo. A lot of people don't know Lenovo is a leading, I would say, AR person in the space. They have the best AR glasses out there, and they work with companies like Leica, Leika, which is something I posted the other day. And Leica does construction, right? So they do BOKs, they do scans, they do drones, they do building scans, and they recreate construction buildings and stuff like that in 3D software. So, and they not only do they do that, Leica also does surgery, right? So they do doctors' offices, they do surgeons. Like they literally have like an AR space where a surgeon can go in with an actual robot and do everything inside the person through an AR headset with an overlay showing kind of what's going on. It's pretty insane if you look at the software that's out there / hardware, and you try to say, okay, you're just now developing this, you're going to catch up to everybody else.
Well, maybe you make the distinction of those guys that you just discussed are more on the like utility institutional side, and Apple's just retail, right?
I'm
Could
buying
be.
the headset. I'm telling you right
But-
now, I'm buying the headset, and I'm gonna be on this YouTube stream with that headset on, and it's gonna
But
be
Hagrid,
unreal.
What I agree with you.
You're
I
buying
agree
the
with you.
headset too?
No. So what I'm saying is, if they were going for retail, their price would be lower across the
Yeah.
board.
So
Across the board.
who do you think they're going for then? If
No,
not,
I think they are going for retail, but
You
I
just-
think
They're
their
gonna
price
sell them
point's
to
just
companies. They're gonna sell them
their
to
price
companies
point
that
is
want to
way
ditch.
out of-
They're gonna sell them to
out of
companies
bounds.
that want to ditch their office space. They're gonna make these virtual offices and virtual meeting rooms. You guys watch if you watched like the video that they released, like I tried to watch the whole thing all the way through. There was a lot of crap in there, but this idea that you can like scan yourself and like kind of enter like a literal virtual office and like see another person. Man, we're going digital offices, man. Like we are going digital offices. Like actual office space is completely in the dumps right now. They're making virtual offices. You're gonna see companies buying like 10,000 of these things from Apple. Eventually, they're gonna make a dumbed down version of it. So we have our like VR or AR Pro, and then we're gonna see 2 years from now like AR Mini or whatever, and it's going to be like
Well-
$8.99, and it's going to be lower quality and not have a battery pack or whatever, and that's going to be for everybody to purchase. They're going to do that. This is just catering towards a whole different demographic.
Let me ask you this: if you're a company, you're looking to cut costs, so you're exporting your services to something like the Philippines or Mexico. You have 1,500 employees over there. You're going to buy headsets for 1,500 employees that for $4,000 a piece when you're already trying to cut costs by using the Philippines or Mexico as labor.
Well, I don't think people that are doing manual labor need augmented reality headsets to
No.
do their job.
I'm talking about like call center people, stuff like that.
Also don't think that those people need it. I'm talking about like your domestic engineers, you know, like high paid tech jobs. Um, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about people that are making, you know, under 100 grand a year, working either like, you know, HR or, well, I guess HR could maybe use it, right? But like manufacturing, working in the line, or, you know, tech support that's outsourced to India. I'm not talking about those people. Definitely not. No, no, no.
Yeah, then you're talking about, in my perspective, you're talking about a small sector, right? Of like a few people in each corporate office, per corporate office. What I was talking about when I talk about Lenovo and Leica, right? You're talking about every single construction company. You're talking about every single GC. You're talking about even every foreman, right? Will have these headsets, not from them, from places like Leica and Lenovo, to use on each job site. And then same thing with hospital. How many hospitals do we have? We have stupid amounts of hospitals. Those type of use cases, they have a massive audience, a massive user. If they're targeting corporate America specifically, I think they'll be very limited in the amount of people they'll get in on it, right? I know a ton of people in corporate. I'm talking about corporate America, not construction. Like we're talking about actual firms, right? That are actually using things like Oculus VR. They're not, and I don't think that they would migrate from Oculus VR because an Oculus VR is $400 or $500.
Have you
To
tried
something like it.
Oculus?
Yeah, yeah, I have
It's
one.
garbage. It's not
Oh
good,
no, no,
man.
no, no. But here's the thing: it's bad on the gaming side. It's actually really good on the construction side. It's really, really good for client presentation. I have some. I'll show them to you after. Actually, I might have the files. I'm gonna try and pull the files while we're talking. Keep the conversation going. I'm gonna show you what it looks like.
There was a question in the chat for us here, and I'm gonna throw it over to Tommy because I feel like he would probably know. RX Chai said, not sure if addressed already, but why was Bitcoin up almost 10% on Binance US this morning?
I think it's just because money is technically trapped there, so they're just buying Bitcoin. I think. I'm not entirely sure.
Do you think it actually
Um,
hit that price, or it was like a
I think it
charter?
might be leading. I think it might be leading other exchanges. You know, at least if you're talking about like a potential arbitrage opportunity, um, you know, we might see that catch up in the afternoon today or maybe tomorrow during Asia. If you don't, I think if you don't see it like a squeeze higher by like the end of London tomorrow, then it's, you know, it's not going to squeeze.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
He's not like rapidly, you know.
Yeah.
um,
I'm gonna give some call outs here. We got some of our guys watching and tuning in. We got Robert77, big friend of the brand. Uncle Fatty Pants, how could I ever forget the name? Another big friend of the brand. We got our man Edward in here, of course. And we got Alexander, what's up, brother? Thanks for being here. Hope you're doing well, man. But yeah, Will, I'll kick it back to you, man. What were you saying? You were trying to pull something up.
All right, so yeah, I already get it up. Let me know if the share screen is showing my video.
Okay, hang on. I gotta bear with me. I gotta do a little bit of
You're good.
navigating. Give me 1 second. Okay, hang on. Oh, hang on. Okay. Oh, what are we looking at now?
So I made this in a rendering software that we use for a client presentation for a water system treatment plant. So this is in Oculus. This is what you would see in Oculus. Maybe speed this up a little bit. That's fine. It's only a minute. Look how detailed this is. That's a $400 Oculus. So what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's cool, but I think like the big appeal for what Apple's doing is that Oculus isn't even compatible with iPhones or any of your Apple products. So it's just about the seamless integration of like having access to your iCloud and all of your applications right there directly. Like they finally came out with a product comparable to, like the Samsung Galaxy hookup where you just slide the phone in or whatever. It's kind of crappy, but I mean, yeah, this is for a lot of companies, this is all you need, and that's kind of the question: is like, why would you pay 10 times? Just because it's Apple, you're probably not even constructing this, this virtual. What do you even call this? Like a virtual.
So this is like a virtual presentation. It's just a bid to try and get the job. So what we do is we go in and reconstruct what they would probably be looking for, and then we would go to the client like, hey, this is what we imagine for your product. Let them do a full, and they can walk through this too. It's not just like a video format. This is the video format that we could show them. We can also allow them a full-on walkthrough with the Oculus the same way you're viewing it right now. So this is just a pathing. I'm doing a pathing, but you can also walk through this whole area like in the actual headset. So like we do this to try and pitch a bid to the client, and then once we pitch a bid to the client, at that point, if we can get the job, we go ahead and we take this right here, probably construct off of it. If we don't, if not, we'll probably scrap it and then we'll construct something new. But this is just a presentation piece. But we did like all these right here, all those individual parts that you're seeing right there, these are all individually. Hold on. 1 second, sorry.
But see, then I ask myself, I'm like, you're not. I mean, you're watching.
These are individual parts.
But see what you're doing here. It's not to say that this isn't cool or functional, but it's you're not. I mean, you're watching a movie. You're watching a VR movie right now. So I think what Apple's doing is, I mean, they're trying to create like a literal like, I mean, an augmented reality version of how we communicate with each other, and maybe you can do that on Oculus to a degree, but I mean, this is just a movie. I mean, you only need to spend $400 to $500 to watch this thing on your Oculus. It's like I think that this is comparing apples and oranges a little bit to the product that I watched Apple present. It's different.
No, what I'm saying here is this is a movie, but this movie you can actually walk through with the headset, right? Like you don't it doesn't path you. This is what we call pathing. So this is just me routing the direction you would go. I could take you in the headset and drop you in a spot, and then you could just walk wherever you want and free walk the whole area. So if I have a full site constructed, you can walk that full site however you want. It's not pathed for you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very similar situation as if you were in VR with like, say, what they were presenting. All I'm saying, all I was trying to show you here is that Oculus can be detailed, even though a lot of people think it can't.
No,
because
for sure,
the
and
games
it
are
works
very
for
gimmicky.
this, right? Like the gaming sucks on it, but like this is totally fine. It doesn't matter if this is a little pixely or laggy. That's fine. But let me ask you this question. All right, price aside, Will, let's just say Apple's AR, the Vision Pro or whatever it's called. Let's say it came out at, I don't know, $999. Would you have a problem with it then?
I think it would be well priced. I think it would be well priced in that range.
There's definitely sticker shock with it, but I think that's mostly what this is just sticker shock from a lot of people.
It 100% is, because again, you're looking at products here. Let me show you another one real quick. And this one's actually insane. Like this headset is like a $5,000 headset, right? And they sell this for $1,500, and it's the Lenovo one, right? So like a lot of people don't know this one exists either. They got a bunch of these, right? And these are, you're talking about like red dot laser type AR systems, right? Through Lenovo. Like these are this is real reality glasses. Like what Apple has presented seems very gimmicky, seems very Oculus, right? When you're talking AR, this is AR. Look at it. Look at these glasses. They're literally like real glasses, and they overlay spaces.
Paying attention to the way BNB is moving this morning.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Was the drop? You talking about a drop on it?
Yeah. Ion has been kind of weird this morning too. Almost like there's going to be another announcement today. Wouldn't that be something?
What a move.
Who wants their chart up? We got Dr. Outlook's chart up right now. Does anybody have anything?
Yeah, over. I got you.
All right, we're gonna go over to Tucker here. All right,
Oh,
you're up.
17% move on BNB. Nice.
Wow.
It could just be making everybody who bid support yesterday puke before moving higher, but could
Yeah.
also mean that there's more bad news on the way, like a criminal charge against CZ.
Yeah. Let me just go through a few different ones and then we can hop back to BNB real quick. But I was drawing something up the other day on Tesla. I had this nice line drawn. I think actually Mr. Cohen had this pretty similar line drawn, but basically it's like it's an important line. And we literally just gapped above it, which has been a classic way of stocks getting over resistance so far this year. So like, I assume we like gap above, we'll probably come back and retest and go higher. Most likely is what I'm thinking here, but it doesn't look bad. I'll say that it doesn't look bad.
Hey, as an ARK
Was it-
shareholder, I'm happy to hear that because that's their largest holding. So cool with me.
Is it really?
B&B's? No way. No way. I didn't look at the
What?
portfolio. Is it B&B?
Huh.
Max?
Oh no, he's talking about Tesla. He's talking about.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
I was like, what? B&B?
Yeah.
Oh no,
They can't.
Oh, we
I
gotta figure
forgot they
that
can't see
out.
my charts.
We gotta figure that out, guys. Yeah.
I couldn't see any of the stuff Will was doing with this.
Wait, Will, you have the zoom up, right? You should be able to see it then.
See what?
You.
Oh, I have it to people only.
Oh.
So I have you on my other screen though. I have YouTube up on the screen. So I can see
Okay.
comments.
Okay.
Oh,
I
is that
think
how we
that
do it?
these, by the way, guys.
Hey, you guys want to see my Tesla chart? It's following.
Yes, I do. But look at this. This is exactly what we said in the Giga Chat caller. What I said. Little double top. Come test the lows. It's gonna happen. It's coming. One more thing, and then I want to see your Tesla chart, Will.
Hold on. Before you change
Uh,
that, run your RSI against your highs there. On
Yeah,
Apple.
it probably is. Oh, on Apple. This
Yeah.
is not. But
No, I'm saying on Apple, but yeah, you're fine. There's just a lag on YouTube.
Okay, that sell off on SPY was BS. That was like, dude, who stuffed that at 4,300? I mean, come on now. Like, just let her rip. That's so.
I told you that was top, Max.
Hey, I told you every time, bro. I was like, it's got to get above 4,300. I was like, if they don't do it, it's not going.
It's too bullish at resistance.
That's an information too. What time frame are you on?
The weekly.
Oh, bro, that ain't good. No, that's the hourly you're on, right?
Dude, if they front run the August 2022 high, I think I'm gonna cry.
Whoa, I didn't know RSI started doing.
Now go on your monthly on that.
Interesting. Monthly?
Yep. Do you see the divergence there?
Yeah, this doesn't really look like a top quite yet, but that is a huge divergence, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm a cat, dude. I can't. But yeah, wait. One more trend line, and then I'm gonna kick it to you, Will.
You're good.
This isn't. Oh shit. Let me just remove that. Okay, daily. Ooh. Ooh. What do we say, fellas?
Mm-hmm.
What do we say about
That's what I was saying, bro. That's why I'm like,
that?
man, this you can
I mean,
tell
you
it's
got
an echo bubble.
2, 4, 5, 6, 7 touches. Interesting stuff. We're right at it too. That's right where it double topped. Right.
This ain't good. If SPY can't get above, if it cannot get above 4,300, this market's toast. It can sit up here and float for a while, but it's got to get above that price.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna
now hold on. Draw a support line on that. On that same area where you just showed the resistance right now. Draw a support line all the way up to the current trend line you just made.
I don't know what you're talking about there.
So all the lows, a line from the top to the lows.
These lows?
No, zoom out all the way to where we bottomed. All the lows, all the way down to where we bottomed.
This
Zoom
way?
up and zoom just so I can see this. Yeah, just a support line underneath all the lows.
Is that what you're talking about? You mean diagonal or horizontal?
Yeah, diagonal. Sorry.
Well, I could share your chart too if you got it pulled up. We can
Yeah,
just move over
I
to you.
don't know what you're talking
I
about.
was wanting you to indicate it, but that's fine. I'll do it. Okay.
All right, we're gonna move over to
move
Doctor
over.
Outlook. Yeah.
All right, let me
All
go.
right, Doctor Outlook, you are up.
So this is my Tesla chart, by the way. This was my expectation of the move, is that this will be a 3-wave into a 4-wave into a 5-wave, back to all-time high, and then probably ABC wave back down. But we can already see the one's already played, two's pulled back, 3 is looking like it's already on the move, which means we should continue all the way up to like 309. This is where everybody's gonna be like, oh, Tesla, buy, and then it's gonna pull all the way back here to like 200 again, and it'll roll back up to the 5 again. And then at that, you're basically gonna you might even do like what Apple did and maybe do like a higher high, right, with a divergence. But the thing is with Tesla is Tesla's breakdown was pretty easy to see, because if you played the RSI to the lows, you caught the low at the low, right, on the RSI. It was beautiful. It was perfect. The low was at the low. Now you have price moving up again. But when you're looking at it from the monthly perspective, higher time frame, you're probably still going to catch a lower high by the time you get back to all-time high. In which case you'll be in another divergence. This is all kind of moving back to where I was talking about. There's good potential that we play out the bull to the highs and then roll back down again, even lower on some of these, and then come back out, into that 10-year cycle sideways movement. It's basically just market chop sideways while everybody's screaming, oh, it's going to do this. It's just one of these. But if we move into something like what were we just looking at that I was talking about there with the lows?
We're talking about SPX
Oh,
SPY.
yeah, SPY. Boom, there it is.
All right, hang on. I need to pull this up on YouTube so I can see what you're talking about.
You should be able to see him on Zoom, man.
How do I make it not? I just see like your guys' 4 faces on my.
Yeah.
I think you can you could unshare your chart, unshare your
Yeah,
screen.
you just got to unshare.
Oh, I can. Okay, I didn't know if that would mess you up next. Okay, I can see it now.
Okay.
As long as one of you is sharing at all times, you can toggle off.
I got you. I
Yeah.
got you.
But yeah, if they don't make it above 4,300 here, they're going to come back down to the lows. And this was always my indication that they'd get this low sweep. And then, and this is something I was talking about before. I thought they would go low before they went high, but they went high before they go low. So it's basically just a move like this and then a low sweep. They're not done yet. It's not done yet. And then probably a move back up to like above 4,300, maybe 4,400. And then, a break from there. That's kind of what I would be looking for in this move, because it just resistance, support. And yeah, this one right here did swing a little bit early, which is fine. That's atypical anytime you're in a falling or rising, because you'll sometimes get like a middle move somewheres in there, which is just where you bounce out the center of the move, which is basically what happened here. So and we also had support over here too. We got a double bottom right here. So a lot of people to this, oh, bullish. Here, you have a double bottom. You don't really have a W here. But overall, if you were to look at this from a bigger move, you don't have any M's or W's playing here. That's kind of the issue here. But if you look at this from a much bigger move, you do have a big W playing here, right? So this right here was always my expectations, that we would catch a rejection here based on this top here and a W center here, right? If we don't get a rejection here and a move back down to a low, it could be this low, it could be this low, it could be this low, right? Any one of these three. Then expectations are they'll come back up, they'll hit high, They'll come back down, they'll hit low, they'll come back up, they'll hit high, and they'll end formation down pretty deep later. So this is kind of like what I was looking for.
That would be
One of these
vicious,
two.
man. That would be absolutely vicious. I mean, the amount of optimism as we approached a new all-time high, or at least like the previous all-time high on SPX, would lead so much money back into the market. So much money
Mm-hmm.
just to
It's
get
like a
stuff.
McDonald's end.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's the Bitcoin double top, man, but in equities. Could you imagine? And that has happened before, by the way. We go back throughout the history of the SPX. I can't remember what year it was. We've studied this, but it has happened. We effectively had a double top. I believe it was back like during the .com bubble ish. Yeah, there it is, Will, right there.
So this is our .com and this is our 0809. And so many people forget this. They forget this move. And I pointed out so many times that people look.
And I'm
.com,
just saying,
drop,
dude, I
move.
mean, we could be halfway through a wasted decade right now. It may have started in 2019, so our range low could be like around where like the COVID highs were, pre-COVID highs. We
Mm-hmm.
could very much so be in a wasted decade right now, just like they were there, or wasted
The,
half decade, whatever.
the biggest thing that people tend to forget is that in this move, SPY always does a lower low. They always forget that. Look, boom, boom. And you're probably like, well, that's one instance. Look, I'll show you another one. Boom, boom, boom. I'll show you another one. Look.
On global bottoms on most things, usually you don't see like a V recover or something like that. Typically lows get tested again just as confirmation, even if it's just a sweep or, a double bottom. A lot of people think like the V recovery is normal. It's not. Like the
It's
COVID
not.
like the COVID V recovery, it was catalyzed by just an incessant amount of money printing and 0% interest rates. I mean, they printed that to a V recovery and they doubled the money supply in a year and a half. So it's like when you inject that amount of liquidity into the system in that short of a period of time, of course, you can get some sort of like anomaly type of bottom because it's highly manipulated. But other than that, I mean, V recoveries are sort of a pipe dream. Typically, you're going to see a lot more of like these long, consolidated range type of bottoms, like you saw. Yeah, exactly, right back there, Will.
I like to think of them as you get the first top, which is like indicative of real demand. The true bull run, the tech bubble. At the top we had a few, or I guess at this point, like a year and a half ago. If we're gonna get a second top, it's gonna be driven mostly by mechanical stuff. Positions unwinding, shorts unwinding, disbelief, and you saw that in 2000 from 2003 to 2007. The super slow grind up, mostly driven by, mechanics within the market rather than, organic demand. And ultimately it ended way worse than the first top too. And I imagine that's probably what's going to happen if we do double top in equities again.
Yeah, this is my expectation. Now, keep in mind that there's two scenarios that happen here. It's either a double top or a higher high, but either way, it always ends up forming a lower low.
Here, switch it over here, Max. I got you. I got the
Oh
bar
boy.
pattern.
Oh boy. All right. Here
There
we
it
go.
is.
Here we go.
That's her right there.
Oh dear.
It's a slightly higher high and a lower low, but it's literally
I mean, dude,
it's literally
here's the thing. I want you to explain this more. We see that type of price action on lower time frames every single day where they run the high and then they run the low.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It seems crazy because we're talking about a move like that happening over 5 years potentially, but that is not weird price action. If you pretend that's a 5-minute chart or a 30-minute chart, yeah, man,
Yeah.
all day, deviation range high, deviation range low. Then we wait for a
Yeah.
breakup, a breakout or a breakdown. Yeah.
I think if we're going to form a second top, it's going to be more quickly than 2003, 2007. We're probably entering, and this is something I didn't really necessarily know how to ask Michael Green yesterday on Spaces was, these cycles where the U.S. government is just taking on more debt through printing money. it's getting quicker and quicker and quicker. As are the market cycles, and you're seeing it, per trade through, just insane levels of upside. So if that's going to be the case, like, and these cycles are going to keep getting faster. I will say one that kind of scares me a little bit, but also it's probably going to make for one hell of a trading environment for the next decade.
Yeah, because this chart is just like 7 years of price action smushed into like 3 or 4 maybe, right? And that would imply we get to that double top at like February of next year, which
Yep.
I don't hate that timeline.
Yep. Yeah, I see something similar. It's just the ride back down to where it's really gonna catch people off guard, I think.
Yeah.
Because that ride will be fast. It's always fast. Look at SPY over here in 00 to the 02 bottom. It's a very slow, methodical drop, right?
Do you want me to
Then
go
look
onto
at
your?
SPY.
Do you want me to go onto your screen? Will?
Yeah, we can open it. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, we're back.
So if we look here, we got drop, bounce, drop, bounce, drop, bounce, drop, right? Which is exactly what we're experiencing over here, right? And then after that, once they get back to all-time high, it's just flush. And this is what everybody's looking for right now. They're just way too early, right? We still have room to squeeze until that flush comes. It just comes in the second cycle.
What do you guys think that implies for Bitcoin and crypto if we had a scenario like that? Of course, it won't play out exactly the same. The time that it takes, it depends on a lot of different things. But what do you think Bitcoin does that scenario?
Eventually, if SPY is essentially going to be up only over like 2 or 3 years with little dip, because that's essentially what 2003 to 2007 was. Eventually Bitcoin will find its footing and probably trade higher prices. You would have to think. At least that's kind of how I'm having to approach it, unless equities top here pretty soon and don't double top, then Bitcoin's going to take a really hard shit.
Yeah.
So I might upset some crypto bros, but like I have some ideas on
That's never
Bitcoin.
stopped you before, Will. Never.
So I'm just gonna lay it out here. People are gonna be calling blasphemy, but that's okay. So I have bears and bull cycles kind of lined out here, but like this is kind of like our up channel right here. I think like crypto on a bigger scale, if you were to like really zoom out and think about this, it's almost like a Tesla move, right? But I think like overall, we're probably scaling like this, or probably scaling like this, but that's for that, right? And so a lot of people are really early to the move, but you're also a long ways before the big boom moves. So if we look here and we look at Bitcoin as a whole, like it is going to reach a point of stagnation where its growth potential is
Hey,
going to
Will,
really get capped.
is it possible you can, instead of having candles, can you make it like a thick line for the price of Bitcoin, just so we can see it behind the colors you got there? Yeah, there we go. Now we can see it better. Perfect.
So something like more of a round top, right? This is a big distribution. What this essentially does from a bigger scale that a lot of people don't understand is this is where all the people that got in here, they're all basically dumping their bags here, right? They talk about a long-term vision, but the reality is they're in it for the money. So a lot of these people that positioned here are basically reducing their bag sizes, distributing to other people at higher prices. And eventually, the craze kicks in once a lot of those people get washed out, which a lot of them will, right? A lot of these OGs that talk about we're all here for Bitcoin, they're all just, at the end of the day, kind of BSing. And they will sell out their positions eventually. So, on a longer term scale, this is kind of where we are now. And if we look at something like Tesla, I like to use this as an example. It's a great example. Very similar move here, right? Tesla just sat here and distributed and accumulated at the lows in an upward trend. And then eventually Tesla had its big boom, right? Breakout move, falling wedge, or sorry, bull flag, breakout move, bull flag, breakout move, breakout move, breakout move. And now we're kind of in a descending, or not descending, but a falling broadening wedge, which is bullish, by the way, for those who don't know. But these are the scenarios that you're typically looking for, and this is kind of where I think crypto is, like on a bigger scale, right? I think crypto is kind of in this echo bubble, which can continue to distribute for a long period of time. But keep in mind, before the breakout occurred in Tesla, Tesla had a long period of compression pricing, right? It looked really bad. It didn't look like there was really much interest here. Eventually, volume dropped extremely, and then they had the big breakout move on the falling wedge, and then price kind of broke out from there. So I think on a bigger scale, if you have a long term view, crypto will do well. If you are looking to get in here and get rich in the next 3 to 5 years, you may be very disappointed, as you're going to continue to get washed out as these bigger bags continue to distribute to you.
So, Will, can you
until they
go
get
back
washed
to
out of their
Bitcoin, the chart that you had for Bitcoin?
Yeah.
I want to just kind of discuss like a hypothetical sort of long-term adoption of Bitcoin. I'm looking at that right now, and you see these sort of like somewhat like repetitive and predictable parabolas that form in price. Maybe you can make the argument they're caused, by the halving, or maybe it's just something else. I think it's probably largely to do with the halving. The next halving is in about a year. We know that the cost to produce a Bitcoin is going to effectively double, assuming the environment remains constant, which we know it won't, but we have to assume it right now because we can't exactly predict how things might change a year from now. We can, but we'll probably be off. What do you think happens to Bitcoin over the next couple years? Is there a possibility that we see rapid and exponential price appreciation after the next halving? Or are you thinking that this next downturn, is potentially a longer lull in Bitcoin's price before another run up?
I think the real boom, personally, just from my perspective, will be in 2030. I don't think it'll be this cycle like a lot of people think. And that's just because I think we're in a double top cycle in traditionals, which I think will cap Bitcoin from being able to get that expansive move. But I think the next expansive move happens in 2030, and that expansive move will also follow into crypto and Bitcoin itself.
So we had a couple questions here from the chat, which I want to get to. This is from Uncle Barky. Uncle Barky said, move to 40 to 50K US dollars. I think he's talking about Bitcoin. When it comes, I am long Bitcoin with 20K USD at a 26K entry. Long my 2 altcoins with 10K USD. Then short Ethereum with 10K. 33% of my long position size as insurance for the downside with a stop loss on ETH at 2031. Let breakout level for my longs rip. Oh, okay, you made some spelling mistakes. The top altcoins key breakout level. Yeah, I'll just comment on like the price you mentioned. Long Bitcoin at a 26K entry. I think long term, yeah, we'll laugh about, people being fussy about trying to buy 22K Bitcoin versus 26K. If we're talking about a decade, no question. But also, I particularly as a trader, I'm a little bit fussy and particular about when I purchase Bitcoin because the opportunity cost of purchasing, a little bit early can make a big difference down the road. For example, if you're buying Bitcoin at 30K versus 15K, right? You're going to have half as much Bitcoin if you could get that 15K purchase on Bitcoin. And I'm not saying we're going to 15K necessarily. It's just an example. Now, yes, you could have 2 Bitcoin at 15K versus 1 at 30K. But if we're talking about a $500,000 Bitcoin one day, that makes a huge difference. So, of course, you're risking by trying to, really kind of cherry pick these key levels. But what we're really focused on because Bitcoin is increasing your Bitcoin denominated net worth for the long run. That when the bull run comes, you've made it awfully easy on yourself and you can really just kind of spot and chill. And of course, sometimes leverage can be fun. But yeah, I don't think that sounds like a bad strategy if I'm understanding correctly. We also had one more from Evan Casey. Evan said that would be amazing for crypto. Tesla is a giant expanded flat. I'm not playing it, but there will be a new all-time high. Yeah, I think Tesla's chart is, it certainly looks good. I'm not a huge Tesla guy. Like I don't really trade it that much. But if you guys have any commentary on Tesla potentially making a new all time high, it'd be fun to kind of dive into that. I know we got a lot of people that really adore Tesla in the community. People love trading it at a minimum, even if they don't want to own it long term.
I mean, I like Tesla as a whole. I look at it as growth potential. I always have a problem with $1 trillion cap companies. I really do. I know a lot of people may be like, oh, valuations, yada yada. It's just once you get to a certain valuation, a certain amount of liquidity, you're capped on growth. So it's very difficult for me to come in and argue. I'm not saying that it can't reach a new all time high. I'm just saying like I'm always about growing my portfolio versus trying to sustain, right? A lot of people are looking at sustaining stocks or sustaining assets versus growth assets. And yes, at one point, Tesla was a huge growth asset. If you think Tesla will reach 3 trillion, you'll make three extra money. I don't see that though. You know what I'm saying? Like
I mean,
there's
the
growth
question, of
potential, but
course, the question, of course, Will, is $3 trillion. Does $3 trillion when that happens mean as much as $3 trillion now? We could be talking about a decade from now, right? We could
yeah,
inflate away
exactly.
the dollar. We could double the money supply,
Yep.
triple the money supply. Again, 3 trillion is like, well, we're kind of just tracking M2 at the end of the day.
That's precisely what I mean by growth. Exactly. If you're keeping up with inflation versus outpacing inflation, it's not quite growth, right? Or if you're just ahead of inflation versus well ahead of inflation, it's not really growth. You're keeping up with money depreciation more or less.
So let's do this. I have a favor to ask of everybody watching right now. If you could please, please, please hit that like button for us. Apparently, it does wonders for the algorithm. That's what they're telling me. If you are enjoying the stream, please give us a like and also consider subscribing to our channel as well. We are going to be doing these every single morning at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time every single day moving forward. So if you've enjoyed it so far, it's only going to get better. I promise you that. We're going to have some guests on, stuff like that. We'll be here every single morning. So consider liking the video. Guess that helps us out. I guess the robot at YouTube likes us, so it's good for the channel. And then please subscribe. Just a quick reminder, if you want more analysis from us, you'll see down in the bottom right corner, premium Discord free 1 week trial. It costs you $0 to try it. You get access to all of us all day long. You can ping us, ask us questions. We post analysis in there. We post our trades in real time. And again, it's not a signals group, but we provide analysis and show you how we are entering and exiting trades to even further the educational process. So I guess if you want to consider it signals, it kind of works the same, but it's really more based in analysis. But yeah, check it out, completely free. So if you hate it, it doesn't cost you anything. But I don't think you'll hate it. I think you'll like it. But I want to get Tommy's thoughts on crypto here, man. Tommy, what are you thinking about crypto?
Sure. Let me share my screen real quick, Max.
Sure.
Because I think it's in an interesting spot. I kind of view it at two angles right now, which is first that we could be repeating kind of a similar pattern to the one that we had in March and April of this year. The USDC FUD came out in here. Relatively speaking, if you're comparing it to this, Binance, Coinbase, yada yada yada, we've trapped shorts. I don't really want to see price get back below. I mean, at the lowest 25.8, but I really want to see a little bit more strength in that. Clearly, if you think it's going to squeeze, because the way it's squeezed all year is through strength, not weakness. It doesn't give you a chance to get on board. We've taken out some late longs here. You can look at the I hid my indicators so they weren't too noisy, but you can see we got pretty good sell volume on the candle this morning. Let's hide that again. And so, yeah, I think we could potentially squeeze here. I look at other confluent factors of patterns that could be painting similar structures to March. FTM is one. You guys know that's a token I've been playing. If my fractal loads, I have another fractal loaded on this bad boy too. And it looks very similar, I have to say. If it'll ever load. There we go. Hold up. Oh, shit. Yeah, there we go. So I thought it looked very, very similar to the pattern that we painted in March. Maybe we take another stab at all these stops right here that probably built up, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of confluence to support higher prices, and I still believe in general, like contextually speaking, it was a pretty significant move from what's the word I'm looking for? Not from a price standpoint, but just from like a high time frame, we withstood X and Y type of thing. As long as we don't have any more bad news on the horizon, I would watch BNB. And I was texting Max during the show, something that I noticed on BNB that you can very clearly see: Bybit funding versus everything else.
So is Bybit just shorting the crap out of BNB right now?
Yes, and you look at their OI.
But
Their
see,
OI on
this is
can
rare
on these
because that would mean that Bybit's winning right now. Bybit never wins.
for now. When I pointed it out, BNB was at 255, so they're already underwater. You can see them already starting to close these shorts. You look at Binance on that last stab down. On a more granular time frame, you can see it really well. There was a huge closing of long OI on this candle down. So not only are we getting a mechanical bounce higher just from longs closing or shorts taking profit, but you're also seeing these Bybit guys that could become forced buyers here, especially if this turns into a PO3. I don't know if Alex is still in here, but I adhere to your PO3 idea for Bitcoin as well at the moment. There are a lot of PO3 setups like all across the board on altcoins and within crypto right now that I would love to see play out, because I mean, if they play out to the upside, they're going to be very, very profitable trades at the end of the day. But I mean, you have to pay attention to the open interest on BNB right now. And even though the price is going lower, I don't think that, what you're seeing with derivatives is very would signal that, smart money is shorting BNB down here. At least not what I'm used to. I need to see, some topside market structure breaks though, right? We need to reclaim this value area of the high volume squeeze candle that we had here. These point of controls here on a more granular time frame. I anchor these volume profiles to just kind of give me some structural context. So yeah, I mean, the level's pretty obvious, right? 26.8. At that point, you can probably start talking about some market structure breaks and the meme fractal playing out. I mean, I always call these fractals memes because they never have to play out. They're just ideas. I overlay them because I remember price action that was somewhat similar at any point in time. And I do feel like this could be potentially similar. We had the largest coin margin puke on Bitcoin that we've had, I think, all year yesterday. So we had a lot of long delta come off the board. We're back within value on a high time frame. I don't know if my computer is going to be able to load it, but I think high time frame value is basically like right here at 26.4 as well. So, this is a pretty good risk reward spot to be opening longs, in my opinion. Again, I don't think you want to see closes below 25.8. And then finally, I'll load one more thing up that has been really throwing me for a loop all week. I think Max probably knows what I'm going to be showing here, but you have to take note of it, especially if you context what is the most important Bitcoin whale exchange. It's Bitfinex. It's not Bitfinex. It is effing Bitfinex. One, because I mean, Tether basically launders their money through Bitfinex. Two, because they have the largest Bitcoin and ETH reserves of any other exchange, at least publicly. I'm sure there's a third, but I forgot it. All that matters is that open interest is literally up only, guys. I don't want to fade that. That looks like positioning to me, positioning for a much, much larger move. And the fact that this OI is still up only, even through this dip, I don't think it's shorting. I think it's a very deliberate long TWAP. And when you look at, when I look back on hindsight, I'm not surprised that we've had this pullback, because you look at where the majority of this open interest was tacked on. It was mostly tacked on, I want to say, below this level still. So yeah, I mean, for me, I still think it's probably look for longs on Bitcoin, especially because, I'll just show one more chart here looking at Bitcoin dominance. Looked really good yesterday. I've got a long-term fractal on that. I think I showed it on the show. Maybe Bitcoin spikes really, really hard. after it spikes really hard, then you can get some rotation into alts. I have some exposure to them already, but I have to say it's not exactly that comfortable. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a very bullish looking chart. And my fractal, yes, another meme fractal, but I preface it with the fact that I have not touched this fractal since January. Playing out very, very nicely.
Tommy's one of the
Summertime
Tommy's
red
one of
for
the
Bitcoin,
the
or it's gonna hit.
Tommy's one of the best fractalers on CT. One of the best.
Don't confuse me with Khalil though. I'm not as delusional nor as rich.
I used to use fractals, but I think it's a losing battle at the end of the day, because then you get those people that like try and flip Bitcoin's entire history and say that that's how much it's going to go up, and just invert it upside down and say
It's just
Bitcoin to
context.
$3
Most
million
people use them wrong. You know, I agree with you, Will. Most people
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
fractals to fit their bias, but for me, I just try to recognize price action, and I think context that feels like price action that I've seen before. You know, help me bang a few really nice shorts in here as well.
I think within a reasonable amount of time frame, kind of like what we showed with the SPY, right? Like that 10-year span and that other 5-year span. Like when you're looking at things like that, those things can easily repeat, right? And definitely, I would say never fade those type of moves. But like I said, like some people use them very irrationally, very irrationally. Just so their bias will
fractals,
play.
man. Fractals are a huge part of my system. I
I'll show
don't
you the
rely
God.
on them in the sense that I think it's programmed or anything like that, but the same little games and manipulations are played time and time again. So if you can identify them, it can often kind of help provide perspective, you know, at like extremities. Oh,
When I get a lot of fractals that kind of line up at the same time, I try to pay attention to that. But I also know when they're going to get invalidated too. I feel like you have to. If this actually works, like I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be unbearable. The amount of time I've been and if it ever loads, but the amount of times I have been kind of hyping up this play, if it actually plays out in a similar fashion, I'm going to be unbearable.
unbullable, because it's gonna go straight up. All right, guys, let's do this here. Let's do this. So we are getting into time. We are just over an hour right now. I'm gonna wrap the show up, but the good news is we will be back 23 hours from right now. You will see us again right here in 23 hours. If you're still here, thank you so much. Please give the video a thumbs up / like. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Like I said, we're going to be here every single day, 10:15 a.m. Eastern time, doing this show, having some fun. We'll have some guests on and stuff like that. And just a reminder, if you want additional analysis and you want to hang out with us, you want to know about all of our trades and analysis, really how we're navigating the markets on a daily basis, check out the link in the description. Premium Discord, free 1-week trial. You could try it for 1 week. You don't have to pay anything. You like it, you stick around. If you hate it, tell us you hate it and then leave. Hey, it's a win-win. You can't lose. You know, you put your stop loss in profit. You can't possibly lose on this one, so give it a try. But guys, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys in 23 hours for Market Check tomorrow morning.